This is supposed to be class 3 or class 2, part 3. Hypocrisy versus obedience. Okay. This is how you know I'm a Ravenclaw. At heart. At the end of the day, every action and decision, every frame of thought and mind is, how do I make sure I'm not being a hypocrite? And I measure it. I measure it in terms of the planet and the planet's resources. I measure it in terms of my physical body. I measure it in terms of health standards, my physical body, right? I measure it in terms of always seeing it from the other perspective, then flipping the switch, making sure like the context rearranges itself for like, and I'll cover these, okay? So I do a lot of mental deliberation over pretty much every issue in life. It's part of the reason I decided to go starve for whales. Because I saw 1 million to 1 billion to another 8 billion humans sitting around talking about love and light, doing nothing while I'm hearing whales screaming for help. And it was at that moment I didn't want to be in the tribe of humans at all. The humans I would talk about being animal lovers. And then, you know, crazy stuff. Exploitation, pet adoption, everything. And at the end of the day, it's like, most of them aren't even well trained or well taken care of or well managed. But my invisible dragons are better taken care of than like most of these animals. I'll tell you a story. This is probably how I feel with my dragons, but I'm trying to make sure that it's not. It's a little easier taking care of etheric spirits, but it's really like, it's work. Because they're not actually etheric spirits. They're like physical manifest in another realm. I was really excited to start learning horseback riding again as I awoke spiritually. And I went around in Southern California, in Los Angeles, to find decent Western riding. Because that was my background. And I didn't like English riding. And that's what was prevalent in Los Angeles. So I found this horse ranch that took a lot of endangered horses, abused horses, sick horses. And you saw them there. And you saw them rotting, unhealthy, just sad, depressed, hunched over. There was zero vitality. There was shit everywhere, all over the floors, everywhere. And you just couldn't help but think, this is not a healthy space at all. They can't even manage. Like the horses looked like they were starving to death. You could see the bones coming out of the rib cage, out of their skin. And the woman was so loving. She kept on taking more horses and more horses and more horses. And she couldn't take care of any of them. This is going to be the planet ascension protocol. It's why we are capping the number at 5 to 7 million people. So we will be bringing 5 to 7 million people up the tree and training them as witches and wizards. And that is it. Baseline. We're capping it because we're not going to keep on taking more and more and more and actually having very little to offer any of them. I am a quality over quantity teacher. For the past 10 years, I've spent teaching classes to 1 to 2 to 3 people a class. So we could develop a very solid quality instead of watering it down for a mass audience. Where most people, that money-grubbing troll thing that Star loves so much makes me vomit. And from the depths of my soul, I would slit my throat or slit my wrists before I ever came close to teaching anything like that. Hypocrisy. When we start with a high quality, it will eventually water down for a generic population. The problem is if you don't have the apex of the pyramid, it keeps the quality like pigs rolling around in the mud. This is why Hogwarts is called Hogwarts. It's not even swine. It's the warts on the swine. That's how low an actual Hogwarts system is for planet ascensions. So a Harry Potter Wonderland with Hogwarts is like real low. Sora is mediocre. And that's the Seraphim and Hashmalim. That's the Angelic Academy. That's where, like, the Dumbledore's actually not named Dumbledore and is intelligent and thinks things out 500 levels through instead of 5. So, how do I not be a hypocrite? Well, first, I have to take the hits myself. That's the first thing. Like, I go into the bottom of the clippeth to claim it, and I take the knife rape first. And I do the hard work first. And I do the scary shit first. And then I heal and I get over it. But that's the, I do the work and I don't get paid first. I just keep pushing it, pay it forward, pay it forward, pay it forward. Where I become a hypocrite on myself is like, at the end of the day, I'm getting knife raped by Star Fuentes and starved to death on a beach for whales. While there, I'm trying to ascendio that lineage. So that's where my hypocrisy is like, nobody on this planet, let me repeat this. After letting me starve to death on a beach for whales, nobody on this planet deserved to ascend. 0. That was the mass agreement for everybody subconsciously, unconsciously, to have me starve to death on a beach for whales and not show up and not care. The only reason for this ascension is the few people that have shown up for the Kabbalah class, and my niece is... My kids I could give a shit about. They're already ascended masters. They're like me. It's my nieces. And you guys have to be really honest about that. It's like, you showed up for this class and be like, yeah, I'm part of this. So that's good. Like, great. But it would have been 5, 6 people. And a few of our family members. And then the spirit of Babaji and Jesus and Hathor. Let me tell you about Hathor. This is probably one of the most important stories. Because after I went to go see that horse, the horse ranch with the rotting horses, with the 300, we're going to take in all these amazing horses and then not treat them well. Like, Hathor made a really clear point to me that that was disgusting and those horses should be put down. Because not one of them looked healthy or thriving. At all. 0. And we went to like a less humane horse ranch. Like a racetrack horse ranch. And every horse was in its section, and that looked 90% healthier. So it was a weird idea. It's kind of like crate training a dog. Sometimes the crate trained dogs are 10 times and 1,000 times better trained, more well-disciplined, can be taken everywhere, are well-managed, well-manicured, healthy, happier, and can thrive in society. So this is why we do not steer clear of stick training and discipline training from Yebera while we sit in Ravenclaw. So we understand the value. But Hathor was disgusted at that horse ranch. Disgusted. It was like, yeah, my bleeding heart says, save all of these horses. It's the same thing with the whales. We should be dumping them in the ocean. And then if we can, have them in seaside sanctuaries. And actually well managed and taken care of. And if we can't, they die naturally. But none of them look happy or thriving or healthy. They're all trying to kill each other and themselves. Maybe that's a little anecdotal, but anyway, hypocrisy. Star comes in today. Her astral self, that's still, it's fading. Believe me, it's fading. Her astral self is, you just want to listen to yourself talk. Let me talk about hypocrisy. That's all I've ever known about Star. Is her wanting attention, her ego stroked, and to listen to herself talk. That's her. So, hypocrite. You have to rise above hypocrisy to get across the abyss. That means you need to be so self-aware and intelligent and well calculated that you know you've surpassed hypocrisy. So one of the biggest things is a matrix person or a Slytherin looking at the Hufflepuff or the Ravenclaw or the Gryffindor or the higher spheres and then go, well, I can't get donations. I can't survive with a magic stuff system like that. So I need to charge a fortune for all of my things just to thrive and survive. And so they call you a hypocrite. But they're the hypocrite because they don't, one, have permission to even do magic on the planet because they didn't pass a Hufflepuff Nexa. They didn't get any permission to ever cut down a tree to write all their magic onto any books. So they're operating off of false systems of entitlements. It's really challenging when you don't have an 8th house Nexa to like buy something and think, where is this coming from? Because if you don't have an 8th house Nexa, that's your karma. You just cut down that tree to purchase something. And then you're going to have to pay for it. And that level, like, when you're above the wheel, like, you're so self-aware of every single carbon footprint, tree footprint. Even I need to, like, I'm writing grids for, like, deforestation stuff on recycled paper, you know? But I have an 8th house Nexa. And you want to know why? Because I starved to death on a beach for whales. And it's not just that. It was my entire life. Making contracts and agreements with Mother Earth. It's a life choice. It's like I am willing to die and sacrifice my entire reality, my entire brain, all of my money, all of everything, my family, etc., all the stories, all the dramas, all sense of humanity, and all matrix systems. Like, I can sacrifice all of it just for the good of the planet. And that's what's required for an 8th house Nexa. I won't buy a house. I won't do an apartment. Like, I'll couch surf. I'll be homeless. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll get no money here. Do the work here. Like, all for the sake of the future. So the 8th house Nexa are like the blue people. They're like the Navis, but they will be masters. Gryffindors, Ravenclaws, and higher. It's going to be really interesting if we ever see an actual Hufflepuff 8th house Nexa. We'll see. It's hard because you got to be above the wheel of karma. So it's every piece of plastic you purchase, every piece of candy you decide to eat, and the wrapper that it was wrapped in. It's everything and what it accumulates into. So, hypocrisy. So about 10 years ago, I was walking in a library and I kept on hearing the phrase, the dead girl, the dead girl, the dead girl, the dead girl, the dead girl. And I had just, like, 3 years prior left a job, or a couple years prior, left a job with Brittany Murphy. And all I could think was Brittany Murphy as the dead girl. Because that's the movie she was in. And she was the dead girl. She died a couple months later. was a weird story. It's a weird circumstance. But I was in the Otis Library. And I have these two memories of hearing the dead girl, the dead girl, the dead girl all over the place. And then also hearing, or me telling myself, I don't ever want to be a hypocrite. I don't ever want to be a hypocrite. And making those psychic agreements with myself over and over. That I would rather die than be a hypocrite. Big time. So, if I haven't mastered it yet, it's on my agenda. Everybody should know that. There are mathematical calculations out of base level hypocrisies. So people might point their fingers at me that I'm a hypocrite because they're still a hypocrite. Because remember, it's like 10 million times the one-way mirror. But my logical calculations might have alphaed or surpassed their current paradigm structure where they are like, hypocrite, you know? So this is the same thing as like Babaji sitting in the mountains. I was one of the only people that could actually sit and like call Babaji out for being a Slytherin. You know why? Because I knew better. And I was his alpha. So there were like these key components that the mathematical calculations never quite added up. But everybody else can't look at Babaji and go, yeah, you're a Slytherin. Because they are. Baseline hypocrisy. So the biggest thing about hypocrisy, how to override hypocrisy, obedience to God. Kelly, do this. Yes. As you wish. Do this. Buy this. Do this. Buy this. Get this organic stuff. Do this. Support this company. Donate this money. And it's just endless amounts of obedience. When you're so in that frame of obedience with your brain that doesn't even think about anything anymore, it doesn't even logically calculate because it's just so fast, it like understands exactly what it's doing. There's no more hypocrisy. Elaine said it best. It's like, I was saying something about dating, all the dragon cleaning pages, especially when the cops start to get involved. And then the Tara goes, why would the cops get involved? And I go, we're going to bring dragons to the planet. Like, why wouldn't the cops get involved? Like, we're going to have wands and dragons. That's the goal. That's the intention. It might take 10 years or 20 years. We'll find out. But the point is this. When the cops get involved, like, we got to be setting good examples for healthy management of giant, dangerous beings and people with wands. Because we don't want our kids or ourselves to have some little angel going, knife raper, and then you not having all the paperwork and dated work that you've done to make sure that that just doesn't happen. It's that simple. Obedience prevents all hypocrisy. Kali Ren out.